Hey, welcome back to our digital dig. In first part we unearthed 13 forgotten DOS games that deserved a second chance, but we are far from done, and today's 13 classics are even more ambitious, bizarre and absolutely overlooked. Let's get to it. Rise of the Triad was a first-person shooter about a special ops team infiltrating a cult-infested island. It was built on modified Wolfenstein 3D engine and its gameplay was pure, unadulterated insanity. We're talking dual-wielding pistols, hit-seeking rockets, jump pads and a power-up that literally turned you into a dog. Also enemies, dozens, hundreds, countless enemies. The story centered on stopping the Order of the Triad, a ruthless cult bent on global domination, giving the cause at least a thin narrative thread to tie it all together. In a world waiting for already announced Quake, Rise of the Triad was seen as technologically dated and just too weird for the Doom crowd. But today, that weirdness is its greatest strength. It's a chaotic, hilarious and over-the-top FPS that's all about ludicrous gigs and pure arcade fun. Its excess experimental mechanics and tongue-in-cheek tone make it a standout in today's retro shooter revival, appealing to players who crave personality over polish. Released in 1992, KGB is a text-heavy story-deep complex adventure game where you play a rookie KGB agent navigating the final, collapsing days of the Soviet Union. Instead of a straightforward mission, you're drawn into a tangled web of espionage, betrayal and shifting loyalties where every choice feels like it could be a trap. The plot unfolds with layers of paranoia and moral ambiguity, forcing you to question whether you're truly rooting out corruption or whether you're the one being manipulated into a larger conspiracy. KGB is unforgiving. It's based on a real-time clock, so you can and will miss appointments and important events and can even be quote-unquote removed from this plane of existence for the smallest mistake. It's a deep, realistic and paranoid spy thriller that's famous for a brutal late-game puzzle, one of the most punishing and rewarding challenges in adventure gaming. Its uncompromising design and relentless atmosphere are exactly what made KGB a cult classic, still worth playing today for those who crave a uniquely tense and cerebral adventure. Darklands is an insanely ambitious 1992 RPG. But unlike most other games in the genre taking place in the fantasy realms, it's a quote-unquote real-world RPG set in 15th century myth-filled Germany. It features creatures and monsters from local legends, alchemy, historical superstition and locales, real-time with pause combat, and a steep, vertical learning curve. The story doesn't follow a single linear plot, instead you guide a band of adventurers through quests ranging from battling robber knights to confronting demonic cults, with the overarching goal of defeating an evil itself threatening the land, Baphomet. At launch, Darklands was buggy, unforgiving and completely overwhelming to most gamers. But its ambition, scope and completely open-ended design is why it's worshipped by those who had the chance to experience it. It's one of the first truly open-world do-anything RPGs in which you can carry on playing even after completing the main goal. The dedication to its historical fantasy setting, gear, locations and monsters is unmatched, and it's adored for its sheer uncompromising depth. Oh boy, Harvester. It's a point-and-click horror adventure that puts you in the shoes of an amnesiac man in the bizarre 1950s obsessed town of Harvest. It's a surreal, digitized adventure that's part Twin Peaks, part Texas Chainsaw Massacre, part Acid Dream. The plot spirals into grotesque initiation ritual at the Sinister Lodge, forcing you to confront escalating violence, moral corruption and the game's own meta-commentary on a video game censorship. Harvester was a colossal commercial and critical failure. It was famously gory, sexual, divant and satirically offensive, but it's the king of so bad it's good cult classic point-and-clickers. It's an unhinged, fascinating what the hell were they thinking time capsule that it's genuinely one of the most bizarre and unforgettable games ever made. Today it's worth checking out not just for its shock factor, but because it's a rare artifact of the 90s gaming culture, equal parts satire, social critique and sheer absurdity that still sparks debate about arts, censorship and interactive storytelling. No, not Dune 2. That's the game that blueprinted modern RTS. This Dune, released the very same year by the same publisher but a different developer. It's a gorgeous, atmospheric adventure strategy hybrid where you play as polar treaties, flying ornithopters, managing spies and building relationship with the Fremen. The story gradually unfolds as you rally the desert tribes against House Harkonnen, blending narrative progression with strategic resource control. Dune was sadly completely overshadowed by its RTS sibling, but while Dune 2 was a strategy game with a Dune skin, this game is the book. The ethereal music, the stunning pixel art sunsets and the slow burn adventure capture the feeling of Arrakis perfectly. It's a dreamlike, unique experience worth revisiting today. Its mix of cinematic storytelling and strategic gameplay makes it feel timeless, offering something modern players rarely get, a faithful adaptation that plays like an interactive novel. Terra Centauri, from Looking Glass, the geniuses behind legendary System Shock, is a tactical, squad-based first-person shooter. Set in 24th century, you play as a member of Strikeforce Centauri, defending human colonists on a distant planet from hostile bandits and mysterious enemies. You wear power armor, lead a team and fight battles in large, open, outdoor environments. Upon its release, Terra Nova was known for having rather elevated hardware requirements, and a Pentium-class CPU was practically a must to run it comfortably. It earned a reputation as a notorious system killer, and on top of that, its slower, more tactical gameplay was too far removed from the adrenaline-filled simplicity of Quake for that crowd to ever invest much time in it. But despite all that, it's truly a lost masterpiece. It's a clear predecessor to games like Tribes and Star Siege, and its focus on squad commands, outdoor combat and large-scale tactical engagements was genuinely revolutionary. Little Big Adventure, known as Relentless Twinsen's Adventure in the US, is an isometric action adventure. You play as Twinsen, a citizen in a world ruled by a brutal dictator who has to escape prison and embrace his destiny as a prophesized hero. Along the way, Twinsen uncovers secrets about his planet, confronts the forces of tyranny, and gradually grows into the role of a savior for his people. Little Big Adventure was a huge hit in Europe, but barely made a ripple in North America. Its quirky charm, unique art style and blend of action, puzzle and adventure elements were hard to market, but its fans are passionate. The world building, music and whimsical yet dark story of Twinsen's journey, paired with addictive gameplay, make it an unforgettable cult classic. Over time, its scarcity in the US and the loyalty of European fans helped cement its reputation as a hidden gem that players proudly rediscover. Outlaws is a Wild West FPS from LucasArts, and in 1997 it was a hard sell. It was built on the Dark Forces engine, which was seen as technically inferior to the year prior's Quakes, and its western theme just wasn't as popular as world's second most popular sci-fi. Yup, I'm definitely claiming here that Star Trek is better. Anyway, the story follows retired lawman James Anderson, who takes up arms again after his wife is murdered and his daughter kidnapped, setting off a classic revenge tale across dusty frontier towns. If I was to summarize Outlaws in one word, it would be style. This game is gorgeous for the engine that it runs on, and it even features fully animated cutscenes that look like 90s cartoon. It has one of the best orchestral spaghetti western-inspired soundtracks in gaming history and a lore-fitting story of revenge too, rounding it up as a complete package. It was also one of the first, if not the first game, to feature a sniper rifle with a working scope. It's a cinematic, polished and totally overlooked gem. In 1994, the studio Silicon and Synapse, which would soon rebrand as Blizzard Entertainment, released Blackthorne. It's a 2D cinematic platformer where you play Kyle Blackthorne, a human raised on Earth who discovers his true heritage as the heir to the planet Tool. Shotgun in hand, he returns to reclaim his homeland from the evil warlord Sarlacc, who murdered his father and enslaved his people. The game's story unfolds across bleak alien landscapes, with Kyle battling through mines, deserts and fortresses to unite the oppressed tribes and fulfill his destiny as the future ruler of Tool. Blackthorne was essentially Flashback with a shotgun, only leaner, meaner and far more focused on action. Instead of intricate puzzles, it delivered dark, gritty combat wrapped in sleek rotoscope animation that rivaled the best of its era. It pioneered the foreground-background cover mechanic in side-view platformers, letting players duck in shadows or step forward to blast enemies with brutal precision. The gameplay was laser-focused on fun, stylish shootouts rather than cerebral problem-solving. Ultimately, it was a cool, edgy title that got overshadowed by juggernauts like Doom and Warcraft, but it remains a pure slice of 90s Blizzard. Gritty, polished, and unmistakably cult classic. In a genre dominated by numerous iterations of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, hardly any other game had a real chance at a slice of the pie. Well, at least not the traditional one. And One Must Fall 2097 was definitely not your run-of-the-mill versus fighter. Instead of human martial artists, the game's story revolves around the future where massive corporations sponsor brutal competitions between giant combat robots, each piloted by skilled fighters fighting for fame, fortune and survival. This corporate dystopia gave the game its distinct flavor, setting it apart from the supernatural or martial arts narratives of its contemporaries. One Must Fall 2097 is one of the best fighting games of its era. It has giant robots, customizable pilots, a killer soundtrack and a surprisingly deep single-player tournament mode where you earn money to upgrade your mech. Beyond the surface, the game offered strategic depth and variety. Each pilot altered the robot's stats and fighting style, while arenas themselves had hazards like fire pits or electrified walls that could turn the tide of the battle. This unique blend of RPG-style progression, environmental interaction and tactical customization made every fight feel different and gave PC players a reason to keep coming back long after the initial novelty wore off. Bioforge is a dark action-adventure cinematic sci-fi story. You wake up in a cell, transformed into a cyborg with no memory. As you explore, you uncover the sinister experiments of a corporation called Mondite Order, who are reshaping humans into biomechanical weapons. The story gradually reveals your past and forces you to confront both your captors and the fragments of your lost humanity. Bioforge's tank controls were infamously clunky even for the time and made it feel more like a slow, grim puzzle solver than an action fest. But today, years later, Bioforge feels like a lost interactive sci-fi horror movie. Its commitment to its dark story, the removed memory theme, the impressive 3D model and the grim atmosphere make it a classic ahead of its time experiment. The deliberate pacing, heavy emphasis on narrative and reliance on atmosphere of a constant combat gave it a maturity that set it apart from the flashier contemporaries. In many ways, it anticipated the rise of story-driven, cinematic games that would dominate decades later. We all know XCOM now, but in 1994, believe it or not, it was not an instant hit. UFO Enemy Unknown was a bizarre mix of global strategy simulation, base and unit management, and incredibly deep, turn-based tactical squad game. It favors slow pace in both storytelling and combat, over action-packed encounters and progression, and features one of the most brutal, permadeath difficulties of the 90s. The plot unfolds through intercepted alien transmissions, recovered technology and terrifying autopsies, gradually revealing a shadow war against an extraterrestrial invasion that feels more like a slow-burn thriller rather than a typical sci-fi shootout. Enemy Unknown was a sleeper hit. It was too complex, too demanding, and too nerdy for the mainstream Doom-era audience. But, and we've learned it months or in some cases years later, it's actually a perfect game. The tension of the geoscape UFO sightings and shootouts and the horror of the battlescape encounters create emergent stories of tragedy and triumph that modern games still chase and most fail to ever achieve. Its layered systems, research trees, soldier progression, resource scarcity and the ever-present risk of losing everything gave it a depth that reward mastery and keeps players coming back decades later. It's a true legend. Forget the simple combat-centric mechanics of the first game, 1992's Star Control 2 is a massive, open-world spacefaring RPG. You're the captain of a powerful precursor vessel returning from a distant colony mission only to find Earth subjugated by the nefarious Ur-Quan. From there, you must explore the galaxy, build an alliance of bizarre alien races and stop an ancient evil threatening all sentient life. Along the way, the game weaves a surprisingly emotional narrative about survival, freedom and the fragile bonds between species. Star Control 2 is huge, complex and text-heavy, which was daunting for many. but it's now considered one of the greatest games of all time. The writing is top tier, hilarious and smart, the universe is vast and full of memorable characters, and the sense of pure discovery is unmatched. It's a masterpiece adventure RPG mashup that was way ahead of its time. Its enduring cult status comes from the way it blends sharp humor with genuine cosmic drama, creating a timeless experience that still feels a bit Star Trek-y and still fresh even today. And there you have it, another 13 games proving those eras one of the most creative and experimental times in all of gaming. They may have been overlooked, but they were never forgotten and are as fun today as ever. What's your favorite DOS hidden gem? One I missed maybe? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit those like, sub and bell icons below, it helps more than you know. Thanks a lot for watching, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.